Hello and welcome to Teleislas News with the most relevant, important information of the day. By means of a new ruling by the Administrative Court of the Archipelago, the legal dispute involving the My Carpenter Yard property was reopened.
A new chapter in the litigation between the Rizal community and the National Police for the Carpenter Yard property was opened once again by the contentious Administrative Court, which through this ruling orders the nation, Ministry of Defense and Police that the construction to be done on that lot must be in accordance with the traditional infrastructure of the archipelago. Also, an open and adequate space will have to be built in this lot where the members of the Rizal community will be able to perform cultural manifestations such as gastronomic, musical, and handicraft activities. The document states that the government is ordered to translate the sentence into Creole within 1 month and also orders the departmental government to read the sentence in the official language of the archipelago within 2 months in a solemn ceremony at the police station. In the official language of the archipelago, the document should be read. It should be recalled that this property has been the subject of dispute since 2018, where several legal actions have sought to take ownership of the lot, generating demonstrations and protests around it.
Upon seeking to ensure the protection of children and adolescents, Decree 0412 of October 5, 2021 was issued, which aims to protect children and adolescents by prohibiting the circulation of minors at night.
This decree seeks to adopt measures for the integral protection of children and adolescents, which also allow preserving public order, guaranteeing citizen coexistence, and preventing accidents in the archipelago. The document establishes that children and adolescents may not circulate between 10 o'clock in the night and 5 o'clock in the morning. In consideration of the above, no children or adolescent may circulate the main roads of the island, streets, squares, park, or public spaces open to the public, unless accompanied by their parents or legal representative.
This measure comes out as a protection for minors who must be at home at night. The idea is that parents abide by the decree and keep their children off the streets.
It is important to clarify the failure to comply with this decree may result in sanction.
Children who are found unaccompanied by their parents during the hours of restriction will be taken to a place where their parents will be called to pick them up, and those who fail to comply with this measure will be sanctioned with a penalty ranging from 1 minimum wage per day to 100 minimum wages.
And as according to the Secretary, in non-compliance with this measure, a reprimand will be assessed as a measure of the reestablishment of rights by the parents or legal representative. The competent authorities will impose a fine of 1 to 100 legal daily wage in force, convertible into arrest at a rate of 1 day for each legal minimum daily wage in force, a fine, as established in the Article 55 of Law 1098 of 2006.
Everything is ready for the development of the National Emergency Response Drill to be held tomorrow.
Public and private entities and the community will participate in the national drill for effective response to events generated by different natural phenomena. In the particular case of San Andres, the main emergency will be a Category 5 hurricane. Parallel to this, in some entities, the drill will be carried out based on specific situations related to nature and business products or services.
Tomorrow we want to have the exercise of the simulation. We have more or less 35 entities that want to participate. Tomorrow we want to recreate that is a hurricane Category 5 that want to impact the island. We will be in the Gobernación Hall making this exercise. We want to recreate different scenarios like Provigas. They want to have an incident with some gas tank. We have out by the dock, they want to have an incident with some cantina. So it's different scenarios that go on. So the idea that the community be aware of the exercise that we want to make tomorrow. So if you hear a siren or maybe you hear some local pushing at the ambulance, don't get excited. It's a national exercise that we're making tomorrow for the benefit of our island and to how to react in case of a major hurricane in the island.
At the end of the day, an assessment of the exercise will be made before the community and the Departmental Risk Management Council.
Authorities seek the implementation of a fruit and vegetable processing plant, which will help to ensure food security in our department.
The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, together with the departmental government and the Colombian Chancellery, made an inspection visit to a property where a fruit and vegetable processing plant will be implemented. This news agency spoke with the Secretary of Agriculture of the department to know details about this inspection.
Estamos aunando este esfuerzo para sacar.
We are joining efforts to work on the process to take out a fruit and vegetable processing plant. This diagnosis led us to realize that it is an ideal site. It is a site located in an industrial area where you could take advantage not only of the plant, but also the fishing terminal and other instances that can be to improve our production process.
This project will not only benefit the community of San Andres, but also the community of Old Providence, as it will provide food security for the department.
And this is an opportunity for all the people interested in learning about different businesses dedicated to agriculture.
This is a business fair for contract farming, which is supported by the departmental government, the Chamber of Commerce, and different entities of the department. Thus, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development invites you to this business fair, where you can find a variety of flavors of the Colombian countryside, in addition to finding samples of agricultural producers and service offerings. This business fair will be held tomorrow, Thursday, October 7, starting at 8 a.m. at the Farmers Market on the island.
Let's continue with all the news from our municipality of Old Providence and St. Catalina.
Good evening to all our viewers. This is the most relevant information from Old Providence and Catalina. The municipal administration is contemplating the idea of reopening the islands to tourism in December. This in line with the work that Fontur is doing with the tourism establishments in the municipality.
In an interview on reconstruction, the mayor expressed his willingness to open the islands to visitors by December 1st.
Como saben, es nuestro principal renglón.
As you know, it is our main economic line, and we hope that by December we can be opening our island to tourism. Tourism service providers have already dismantled certain assistant aids, and they have to produce, and the way to produce is to open to tourism and receive visitors.
The Municipal Secretary of Tourism gave more clarity on the issue of opening up the island to tourism.
Es una probabilidad.
It is a probability. It is not a sure thing. The territorial entity wants it to open soon because it is necessary to reactivate the economy of the tourism sector of the municipality. Many of the tourism service providers are requesting this opening, while there are others who still feel that it is not the right time.
Everything would depend on the progress of the reconstruction of the tourist establishments that are in the hands of Fontur, which so far they have 28.
As of today, we do not have a projection from Fontur regarding the progress of how we are going to be between now and December. It is a projection that they are going to pass on to us according to what they say.
Finally, some tourism service providers expressed their opinion on the subject.
We don't get no help. We say, well, the regular income that every month we get a little change and we hope. A lot of we take prestamo and we hope bank. And we don't have no way to get it to pay. So I feel like anytime they're ready, I am ready.
The island is not prepared for that. We don't have no capacity to receive more people. Right now in the island, we have 2,300 people in the island. The studies about capacity don't talk about more than 2,000 people one time there. Right now we have sewage problem, we have garbage problem, and we have water problem. So what we want to tell the people is if we can supply these necessities.
And in other news, tomorrow the municipality will participate in the National Emergency Response Drill, simulating a cyclonic event. More information with Dean.
In order for public and private institutions to test the operation of their emergency response and risk management instruments, tomorrow a hurricane drill will be carried out in the municipality.
The Municipal Risk Management Council, headed by the mayor, has been developing, advised by the National Unit for Risk Management, the process of preparing the island of Old Providence for the simulation of the arrival of a hurricane.
The simulation of Hurricane Willie will be carried out with all entities attached to the Municipal Risk Management Council and institutions present in the municipality.
To prepare themselves, activate their emergency plans, and we will develop activities for the evacuation of the civilian population to temporary shelters that are planned in case this happens in reality.
The exercise will start at 9 o'clock with the evacuation of Santa Catalina.
This is all the information we have for tonight for the section of Old Providence and Catalina. You guys can continue San Andres with more Teleislas news. Saluda.
Thank you, Millie. Now let's see our Community Chronicles section, a space to listen more closely to the community. After the current pandemic of COVID-19, education processes on the island have been difficult. In our Community Chronicle today, we will see how children with disabilities and cognitive difficulties are going on in this process of virtual education.
The pandemic has changed the ways teachers teach. Now, they have more challenges to meet and the task of developing new skills. If for ordinary education teachers, virtual classes have meant an increased workload, certainly for educators specializing in children with syndromes or attention difficulties, the effort could be even greater.
Here in our special care center and in this phase of confinement, we have done the activity through the delivery of study guides at home. In essence, this means that parents are provided with structured activities for each of the beneficiaries or children of the institution, where they have to be the parents' guide for this work at home, which is what happens since it is generally a new condition for the parents. They feel restless and insecure, and sometimes they say that they cannot cope with this situation and always require our guidance and orientation. Actually, the issue of online classes has been the first problem on the island. When the pandemic started, what we did with all the materials we had was distribute them to the children so that they could work from home, and we made a portfolio where they would have one more material to work on at home.
The lack of specific and face-to-face tools that promote the cognitive development of young people with disabilities makes the educational process of children more difficult to carry out, thus reducing the levels of education.
After the pandemic, they need that time of breathing space to go back to the routine they had before, because there are people who work based on routines. So when the pandemic came, it was very hard for them. So they really need to go back to their activities. At this time, the parents' need for the children to return to the institution to continue the work they have been doing is much more pressing. If they had an increase in certain skills and abilities, we can see that the level has decreased. We see a decrease in those skills and abilities because the parents have not been able to perform the tasks and activities necessary for the children to maintain those levels of skills and abilities at home.
Thus, the pandemic implied a greater challenge for instructors, teachers, parents, and even students. Children with Down syndrome also felt the new lifestyle, as they need a shadow teacher to accompany them in their classes and in the completion of the guides. Unfortunately, this methodology disappeared with the pandemic and can mean a serious setback for these children.
During this time of pandemic is where you measure your patience and how you dedicate your time to your children. The dedication of some parents who did not have the time to sit down and do the activities with their children, so more than the children, the difficulty was with the parents. I want to make an appeal because if the special center closes, what am I going to do with my child? In the neighborhood where I live, the conditions are not the best. In the neighborhood where I live, there is a lot of violence in the cliff. So if they close this center, what is going to happen to this child? He works a lot with Play-Doh, so if he does not have a professional person to guide him, how are we going to do then? And he is not the only child. There are many talents that not even the child knows he has them.